Martha, hello, how are you? It's Jeannie. Oh, it's good to hear your voice as well. Yes, yes, how's Jim doing? Yes. Oh, good. And the kids? And how's business at the shop? I know it's really hard at this time. Yeah, I know. It is difficult keeping supplies in. Yeah, and that's why I'm calling. Our Johnny is coming home from on leave next week, and it's already at the month end, and we are running so low on our ration stamps, and we have no more meat stamps. We've used them all. So what I was wondering, I've got some extra stamps for spares, and I was wondering if I might be able to use those on perhaps some canned meat. Do you have anything like that? A couple? Okay, well, I may have just enough rations to be able to get that. I wanted to call you first because I didn't want to take the trip down there and find out you didn't have anything, because I'm also out of gas rations for the car. Yeah, our fuel is almost out for the month. Yeah, so I've got to be really careful. But it's good to know you've got a couple cans. What is it? Spam? Okay. Ooh, that'll be kind of a treat. Yes, and maybe we can go out and kill a chicken. Yes. And have that as a nice roast. Yeah. Something to fill up Johnny's belly. And so he's only got a few days and then he has to head back. And so I just want to fill him up and send him back with some good nourishment. Yeah. Our garden is doing very well. Yeah, we got that booklet from the government on how best to utilize our plot, and it was really actually quite helpful. Yes, and it's helping stretch our meals for sure. Yeah, we're going more and more with meatless meals lately. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. If you could put one of those cans aside for me, I'll be down later this afternoon to pick it up. All right. Thank you so much, Martha. It's so good to talk to you. I'll see you shortly. All right. Bye-bye. Hello. Who are you? And how did you get in here? You're from the future? 2024? Wow. I heard about you, time travelers. That's amazing. Wait till I tell Martha about it when I see her later. Well, what are you doing here in 1944? You're about 80 years back in time. You're just popping around, doing different visits to different decades. Wow. Well, you've come during a difficult time here. Yes, there is a world war going on, and I won't go into all of that, but times are really lean in terms of food. And I was just on the phone with Martha down in town, and she and her husband own the local market. And I've got these food ration books, and we're almost out for the month. So I am trying to think of ways to stretch our meals, provide good nutrition. Oh my gosh, I am sorry. Where are my manners? Would you like a cup of tea? I just made some. Okay, I'll pour some for you and some for me. This is fresh tea as well. We're often reusing tea, sometimes at least 2 or 3 times, because we can't go through it like we used to. Here you go. And I'll pour one for me. Oh, that's so good. Do you like it? Good. Like I said, it's fresh. It hasn't been used a couple of times. So, while you're here, can I answer any questions for you about our decade? About this time? Yes, we are at war. It's a sad state of the world right now. Our son is coming home on leave. So I am looking to have a couple nights of dinners with him and fill him up. I know he's having a hard time of it too. All our boys are everywhere in the world, and we're doing our best to feed them. Yes. So, modern amenities, you ask. What do we? Well, we've got this nifty new telephone. And the nice thing about this is we don't need to go through the operator. I can direct dial. See this? Yes, very modern. And something else that just came out is this new, very new index address file. You just slide down to the letter you want, and you push this, and it opens, and you've got all your names and numbers. So that is quite modern. We have a very modern refrigerator and a very modern stove and oven range. Yes, so this is my lovely kitchen that I am so very grateful for. But food right now is very, very tight. We've planted a garden. It's called a victory garden. And citizens in the US as well as the UK have been encouraged to plant these gardens to help stretch their food budgets. Yes, I'll show you some pictures of ours. It's a lot of work, and I've never gardened before, but it's also a lot of fun. These are the war ration books, and every man, woman, and child receives a book, and there are stamps inside, and you can only purchase these rationed items in the stores using these stamps. Yes, you cannot just go in and buy them. You are allotted only so many per person in your household. And when you're out, you're out. And it just seems like there aren't enough to go around, especially for a larger family. So and they expire. You can't save them up. And they've done that to prevent hoarding. So you can't use up 2 or 3 months all at once, and it's helping to keep the flow of things even. So, but it does make it hard, yes. So, yes, I've got it's the end of the month, and I've gone through most of these stamps. What remains are canned goods and a few dry goods, but no more meats. We also get rations for fuel and oil, heating oil. And you want to hear more about that? And I'll show you these. Sure. One thing that has been very helpful is this wartime ration recipes book. And this is full of ideas on how to stretch your meal, how to provide nutritious meals with less. There are lots of meatless recipes because we are making do with less and less meat. We're fortunate to have chickens in a chicken coop, and my husband will go out and get one. And every other Sunday night, so it's 2 per month, we will have roast chicken on a Sunday night. Yes. No, I don't get too fond of them because that would be difficult. But it's a fact of life, and it's how we are surviving and providing for our families. So this wartime ration recipes cookbook is for 2, 4, and 6. So it helps you budget your foods according to how many you have. One way we stretch our entertaining dollar is by having potlucks, either after church or at someone's house. We will all get together and bring a dish, and that allows us to splurge a little bit. So a couple, 2 or 3 times a month, we're having potlucks with several other families. Yeah, and it's a good way to stay in touch. We meet at the park or the community hall. So it's a lot of fun, and we're able to have things that we don't typically have all in one evening or afternoon. Yeah. Another cookbook that I have, and I'll show you. This is called Anyone Can Bake. It's pretty modern. This came out in 1928, and this was actually my mother's. And so she gave this to me just after we got married. And it's got some great recipes in it that also help stretch a meal and a budget, because if you remember the late 20s, there was a huge depression, an economic depression where we live in the United States. And so there are lots of easy recipes in here that I refer to a lot. So I'll show you some of those as well. That tea is so good, don't you think? Well, I hope I've answered some of your questions and shown you a little peek into my life here in 1944. I'm not sure I would be ready for 2024. That just sounds so futuristic. Well, I'm looking forward to finishing up our tea, and you can tell me a little bit about your time, your era, your decade. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. Okay. Isn't this nifty? All right. I'll begin with this War Rations book. This is War Ration book number 3, and these were put out by the OPA, which was the Office of Price Administration. And it was made out to each person. The name, the street number, the city and post office, the age, sex, weight, height, and occupation. The warning says this book is the property of the United States government. It is unlawful to sell it to any other person or to use it or permit anyone else to use it except to obtain rationed goods in accordance with regulations of the Office of Price Administration. Any person who finds a lost war ration book must return it to the War Price and Rationing Board, which issued it. Persons who violate rationing regulations are subject to $10,000 fines or imprisonment, or both. That is a lot of money. So this is the front of War Ration book number 3. And here is number 4, which is updated just slightly. Again, here is the name and address. And in accepting this book, I recognize that it remains the property of the United States government. I will use it only in the manner and for the purpose authorized by the Office of Price Administration. So, on the back are the instructions. This book is valuable. Do not lose it. Each stamp authorizes you to purchase rationed goods in the quantities and at the times designated by the Office of Price Administration. Without the stamps, you will be unable to purchase those goods. So you can't just walk in with cash and buy these rationed goods. Detailed instructions concerning the use of the book and the stamps will be issued. Watch for those instructions so that you will know how to use your book and stamps. Your local War Price and Rationing Board can give you full information. Do not throw this book away when all the stamps have been used, or when the time for their use has expired. You may be required to present this book when you apply for subsequent books. Rationing is a vital part of your country's war effort. Any attempt to violate the rules is an effort to deny someone his share and will create hardship and help the enemy. This book is your government's assurance of your right to buy your fair share of certain goods made scarce by the war. Price ceilings have been established for your protection. Dealers must post those prices conspicuously. Don't pay more. Give your whole support to rationing and thereby conserve our vital goods. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Now, I believe in that now, and I hope you believe in that in the year 2024 and beyond. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Never pay more than the legal price. Important, when you have used your ration, salvage the tin cans and waste fats. They are needed to make munitions for our fighting men. Cooperate with your local salvage company. Okay, so let's look inside. Actually, it goes like this. So you can see these stamps. They are removable. And you can buy things like meat, fish, dairy, canned goods, sugars, cooking oils, things like that. Every month people receive a new set of stamps as the old ones expire. The stamps have numbers that indicate their point value and letters which rationing period they could be used during. This prevents hoarding. So see, each one has a number. You cannot buy a rationed item without also giving the grocer the right stamp. Do you see that each one has a little picture? This is a tank, this is a boat, and this is some sort of rocket launcher. The OPA, which is the Office of Price Administration, rationed automobiles, tires, gasoline, fuel oil, coal, firewood, nylon, silk, and shoes. Americans use their ration cards and stamps to make their meager share of household staples, including meat, dairy, coffee, dried fruits and jams and jellies, lard and shortening and oils, go further. We've learned to really go without. That is one of the most important things. We sacrifice certain items, and that's just the norm for us. We consider it a common good for the war effort, and it affects every single household. We also have rationing for fuel, oil, kerosene, solid fuels for home heating, lighting, cooking, and other uses. And if you live in a colder climate, your rations for fuel are higher because you need more fuel, of course, because it's colder in the winter. And of course, there's less in warmer areas. With regard to rationing for gasoline for our vehicles, the rationing is divided up into 4 categories: Class A, B, C, and D. Class A drivers are allowed 3 to 5 gallons of gasoline per week, and that is for essential activities such as shopping, attending church, or going to the doctor. Class B drivers are factory workers, traveling salesmen, and they receive 8 gallons per week. Class C drivers include essential war workers, police, doctors, letter carriers, and there are no restrictions for their gasoline. And Class T is truck and bus drivers, and again, there are no restrictions for them either. They were color-coded, and as you can see, my red ones are gone because those were for meat. And so I've got some spares, and perhaps I can get that canned meat, the Spam, with some of these. These are for canned vegetables or dried goods. And I have some more spares here as well. But this book is almost empty, as is this one. Some of the ways that we stretch our budgets are, like I said, potlucks. That's a fun way to have more food to enjoy as well as socialize. It helps us pool the limited ingredients, and one person couldn't have all those items. There's just no way. We use desserts with lower sugars because sugar is very, very rationed. And it's very limited. So we use a lot of fruit-based desserts. We use chicory to make weak coffee taste stronger. And like I mentioned, we reuse our tea leaves several times just to make them stretch and go further. We've really been tasked with being creative with our recipes and our meal budgets. So let's look at the wartime ration recipes for delicious meals. And this helps us make the most from very little. So on this cover you see glazed carrots, some green peas, and perhaps a rice and egg dish. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so let's start with a lemon chiffon pie. I may do that for when my son comes back on leave. And it takes some pet milk, which is in a can, egg yolks, water, lemon rind, some gelatin, lemon flavored, some lemon juice, and egg whites. And because of the chickens, thankfully, we've got eggs. And here's a way to stretch some meat using hot dogs, frankfurters. It's called spaghetti with frankfurter sauce. And so it contains spaghetti and water and salt, onions, green peppers and garlic, bacon fat, tomato soup, and thinly sliced frankfurters. And of course, some pet milk. Doesn't that look delicious? We do chicken pot pies, and that is a great way to use up a lot of extra things in the refrigerator and just put it all into a pot pie. Egg patties, which is a great substitute for meat because most of our meals are meatless. A bean loaf instead of a meatloaf, spinach, and I'll show you some examples of our gardens. So we do have lots of vegetables, thankfully. Okay, and this is an egg puff, and so we've got potatoes, and of course the hot pet milk, and salt, pepper, and eggs and salt. And here's some bacon, if we do have bacon, but we don't always. So let's see, Chinese molds. It is a meatless main dish furnishing a good source of protein. And so that is what is on the cover here. Savory liver patties, which is a rich source of iron. So it's sliced liver, salt and pepper, bacon fat, pet milk, onions, salt, pepper, and flour. American chop suey, which really helps stretch any meat we do have. Creamed potatoes and peas. So this is how to whip the pet milk and use it as something as a thickener, and you can use it for desserts and salads. Different drinks you can put it in. Okay, mashed potatoes. We do have a lot of mashed potatoes. Thankfully, we can grow them and store them. And different rolls. Macaroni salad, potato salad, chef salad, lettuce salad, gravies, victory meat pie, and this also helps extend the meat using some rice and vegetables and of course the pet milk. Ooh, look at this delicious dessert. It's called a rainbow custard pudding. Notice we use very, very little sugar, only about 3 to 6 tablespoons, depending on how much you're making. Oh, here's another beautiful mold. This is called a deviled salad ring. And this is a fruit cobbler. So there are lots of different ideas that we can use to stretch our meals. And then I could also use this book that was given to me by my mother. And the nice thing about this book is it shows you how to set a table properly. And just because we may not have a lot of food doesn't mean we can't enjoy what we do have. And this cookbook was made by Royal Baking Powder, the company that makes the Royal Baking Powder. And there are lots of tips here on how to make various doughs. Biscuits. We have a lot of biscuits as well. Biscuits, gravy, and potatoes. Coffee cakes and breads. This entire coffee cake only has 3 tablespoons of sugar. So that's something to think about. Most of our items have very little sugar. They are not super sweet. This nut and raisin roll, the entire recipe has 1 tablespoon of sugar. Different methods showing the proper consistency of muffin batters. Okay, and this is just various menu items, warm weather breakfasts, cold weather breakfasts, warm weather lunches, cold weather lunches, dinners, and so forth. We love waffles and pancakes. It's a great way to start the day. Oh, you still have those as well in 2024? That's good. And there's a lot of information about cake making. This is really nice for a young couple who are setting up their first home together, and lots of instructions on how to make a cake. I love gingerbread men. I love gingerbread. And things you can make for your children's school lunch boxes. Cookies. Oh, cookies are fun to make. And I love licking the spoon and the bowl. And brownies. Oh, brownies are so good. Drop cookies, bundt cakes, or sponge cakes. And a little bit about the Royal Baking Powder Company, angel food cake and yellow cakes. Jelly rolls, Boston cream pies. So, yeah, we can make do. We're very good at making do. For instance, here's another one, Dutch apple cake. 2 cups of flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of sugar, some salt, shortening, an egg, water, 4 apples, and some cinnamon. Deep fat for frying. The vegetable oils are perhaps the easiest to use and best for frying, but solid fats such as lard or any of the solid vegetable fats and a mixture of lard and suet are also good. Yummy. Cream puffs and eclairs. And then, of course, icings and syrups and candies. Ginger snaps. That sounds so good. Molasses, sugar, butter, cinnamon, ginger, soda, egg, flour, and baking powder. Tea cakes, cupcakes, layered cakes, and some cake decoration ideas. They show you how to ice a cake. And I even have some recipes here from my mother. And this is an apricot pudding. Flaky cheese pastry. Molasses cookies. Half a cup of butter. Half a cup of sugar. Half a cup of molasses. An egg. A teaspoon of vanilla. A teaspoon of soda. Some salt. And flour. Cakes for every occasion. And then pies and pie fillings and how to make a pie crust. Oh, look at that. Tom Collins. Fillings and frostings. Waffles, how to use a waffle iron. Okay. Well, this is a good start to understand how we make our meal planning. But I also have this, which maybe sometime when you come back we can go through. It's pretty thick. And this has lots of wonderful recipes and meal ideas. But this right here is what I use to plan meals for my family and any entertaining we're able to do. Let me show you some pictures of my garden. Growing your own food is a great way to save money, and it's good for the environment. Fresh produce tastes better, and it's a way to boost morale as well. We feel like we're contributing and helping with the war efforts by growing our own food. It does help prevent food shortages as well, because as you can see, our rations books just don't go far enough. Traditional victory gardens in our area include foods that are very high in nutrition, such as beans and beets and cabbage, carrots and kale, lettuce and peas, tomatoes, turnips, squash, and Swiss chard. And what's really nice is we can grow our own herbs as well and dry them and have them last for the year. Not many people have very big yards, but even with a 15 by 25 foot garden, you can grow quite a bit, and you could feed a family of 4 or more on what you grow out of that garden. We've had to learn to can and put up preserves so that we can have the bounties of these gardens all throughout the year. For people who don't have their own piece of land, for those who live in apartments, there are community gardens as well where they can plant and raise their own little crops. Many people have not had gardens before, and having a victory garden was their first time growing a garden, and so they needed help. So federal and state agencies, local governments, and even private citizens and civic groups published guides to help ensure success for someone's gardens. They advised on what to grow, how to grow it, and they gave garden plans and sample yields and information on weed and pest control. There are many community organizers that provide best practices and how to manage our victory gardens. They even have programs that teach children, school children, how to help out in family gardens. And they can learn to help out with canning and preserving some of the fruits and vegetables that we grow. It really is a family affair. Well, it has been wonderful sitting here with you over this cup of tea and showing you my time, my decade. I wish we had more to offer you. I love being a great hostess, but I'm glad I was able to at least give you some tea. Now, I would like to hear a little bit about where you're from, the decade you're in, 2024. I can't even imagine it. Does everybody fly around in rockets and spaceships? No? Oh. Well, I'm excited to hear all about it, and I'm really glad you came to visit me. So, I am going to take my ration books and head down to the market in town and see what I can get. that will help tide us through for the rest of the month. It was lovely meeting you. I wish you well on your journeys, time traveling. Boy, wait till I tell everybody. No, they'll never believe me. I'll keep it to myself. Maybe you can give me some stock tips. Okay. I will see you again someday, perhaps. Again, thank you for being here and visiting with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.